The Newsround on Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Now then, you are very welcome along. So on the show this evening, a slight tangent for the 9th week in a row. We are Rangers. Colin O'Rourke is the Meath manager. He's on the way as well, fresh from his Tailteann Cup win, Meath's Tailteann Cup win on Saturday. Lawrence Donegan will preview the Open, coming to you from Hoylake. 53106 is the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. Michael McCarthy here in studio. Hello.
Hi, Joe.
And Richie McCormack. Hello to you.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Very good. I read that slightly slower than usual, Richie, because
I could see that.
I kid you not. Michael McCarthy was late and he was crawling across the studio as I was speaking, like he's doing some assault course.
Would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you, pesky kids.
The camera angle I can see shows the two of you, and I was like, where in God's name is Mick? Joe is cutting it dicey here if he's gonna, oh, here we go, I'm gonna be first. But no, Mick got in there. Fair play to you, Mick. That was quick moving.
Forgot my earphones.
Where were you?
I forgot my earphones.
Okay.
Like I had about 10 seconds. We were during weather. Would have been able to hear Richie's, you know. Now that I think about it, maybe I should just come in.
Colin O'Rourke on the way after 9.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I know, sorry about that, Richie. Yeah, Colin O'Rourke. Tailteann Cup winning manager.
I know. It's interesting in that he obviously took the job and then things started okay and then they dipped. There was a 6-match streak where they didn't win, and that includes bowing out of the Leinster Championship at the hands of Offaly and some big defeats at the hands of Derry and Dublin in the league, the latter of which was on TV. And the sense was, and I think there was a fair degree of schadenfreude in the air in GA circles, the sense was there he is now, sitting on the TV for the last however many decades,
criticising
and talking about attacking football and, you know, bemoaning our negative tactics. And then look at this, Derry Dublin tearing through them, exposing this very naive approach. And I think the dinosaur was fairly roundly used as well. So it's certainly a very nice recovery on O'Rourke's part, to say the least. So looking forward to chatting to him about that amongst other things after 9.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great platform for Meath to build on now as well, isn't it? Because like it's a young team that they've brought through. They've obviously figured out what they were trying to do over the course of the year as well. So actually quite impressed with Colin and how he's talked all the way through the year as well, because I do agree with you. I feel like there was a little bit I think people were somewhat out to get him, even subconsciously, that there was this sense of this guy, this know-it-all almost in a way, but it's like, it's not as if just because we haven't been watching him managing, he's got as much experience as any first-time inter-county manager, if not more, I would say, obviously because he's been doing it a long time. Huge. He's won a lot of Meath County Championship, Simonstown and so on, so look, good first year, not brilliant. You have to remember that they probably shouldn't have lost to Offaly. They struggled in the league, but they went and did what they had to do then and won the Tailteann Cup, so it's something to build on for next year.
Yes, I think that's a good way of framing it. It's not like it's the greatest season of...
they were the top ranked team in the Tailteann Cup, in any other year, more than likely, if there wasn't a guaranteed Division 4 team in the Connacht final, if Clare didn't make the Munster final, if Westmeath hadn't already guaranteed their place. A team that finishes 6th in Division 2 isn't going to be in the Tailteann Cup most years. Yeah.
Shout out, by the way, Donald Keoghan, Meath captain.
What a player he is.
Because I gave Tommy Rooney, our resident Meath expert, a call earlier on just to get a sense. I suspected he had watched most of Meath's games, and I was chatting to him about the ebb and flow of the season, and he goes, by the way, Donald Keoghan, 150, I think 3 appearances for Meath, certainly past the 150 mark. Made his debut kind of 2011, 2012 territory. Donald Keoghan has never missed a championship game, and he has missed just 3 league games across his 11, 12 years with Meath. Never wins silverware. Yeah. And then you get a day like Saturday, which is very sweet for him. I dare say every county has a Donald Keoghan, and it's only in that county that everybody knows and appreciates the commitment. Because I certainly wasn't going, Donald Keoghan, of course, never missed a championship match, only missed 3 league games. None of us know that outside.
You don't know that he's playing all the time, but he's such a stalwart. Like, I mean, the sad part about Donald Keoghan's career is that like Meath were somewhat relevant when he burst on the scene as a kid, as a cornerback, and he was like clearly next big thing, and it was like nobody came with him. you know, in that era, and he's struggled, you know. Like there's a Shane Dooley might be a kind of someone that you kind of think of in hurling. You know, he's been there through Offaly's worst ever time and probably is one of their best players over a career. But Keoghan, Richie, you'll remember this as a Meath fan, but like Clare played Meath in the last 12 qualifier one year to make the quarterfinals, and it was one of those games that like Clare felt they had won and should have won, and I swear to God Keoghan won that game on his own, and I mean defence and in attack. He was absolutely outstanding. He's so by far and away the best player on the pitch at a game at that level of two kind of Division 2 teams. So yeah, it's a fair thing to bring up him as a tribute. Silverware this week, of course.
Yeah. So Colin O'Rourke on the way after 9. A slight tangent is at 8 o'clock. 9 weeks in a row, Richie.
Well done. I see you're still clinging on to the Rangers analogy, which I'm sure is going down great guns with listeners.
We're Rangers.
I think haven't Celtic done it?
Yeah, like a couple of years ago.
Which would be, I'd imagine, I'm probably stretching here, slightly more popular with the great listening public out there, rather than your 30-year-old Rangers analogy.
It just depends what age you were when that landed. I mean, if I was 30 years younger, then I'd be saying we're Celtic. But no, for me, it's Rangers.
It's still Walter Smith year after year with the big grin on his face, going up to collect the trophy, and finding it hard to begrudge Ali McCoist because he's Ali McCoist.
Yeah.
Quiz question.
Newly on TNT Sports, by the way, Ali McCoist, but go on.
Who was the Celtic manager?
Lucky TNT.
Huh? Who was the Celtic manager who stopped the 10 in a row?
Fim Janssen.
I actually should have said, don't answer this, Richie. I knew you were going to know.
The man who never gets enough credit as a kind of Cruyff psychic. He gets a lot of good mentions in that Cruyff biography that was released a year or so ago, the Outcock one that we did a piece on. Fim Janssen was one of those never got to be played by Colin Meaney in a film, unfortunately. He should be. Like, in fairness, Meaney has already done Don Revie, which is probably Meaney's limit as regards football managers, but Wim Janssen as played by Colin Meaney would be perfect.
Was that in The Damned United?
Yeah.
Did he?
He was a really good Revie,
I must rewatch that. I don't remember it, because I presume they did the TV studio scene in quite a lot of detail.
Yeah, they have the right colour background, which is amazing. The Austin Mitchell is a bit dodge, but the Meaney as Don Revie is pretty spot on. Yeah.
In fairness to Michael Sheen, so bloody good that I don't remember who else was in the movie. Yeah. I know John Giles was 6'4".
Yeah, I know.
Oh God, yeah.
Irishman.
Peter McDonald,
yeah.
And Bremner was probably about right, but yeah, they were.
Oh well, Bremner was.
Choices.
Who's your man? Who's such
the Scouse actor,
phenomenal actor.
The guy from Line of Duty.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and This Is England.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
he's like an outrageous actor. So he was Arthur will check. Anyway, we're going off on a slight tangent. Indeed. So let's check in on events in Australia. The Denise O'Sullivan news continues to be good.
Yeah, it's trending upwards. Denise O'Sullivan winning her race to be fit for Thursday's World Cup opener with Australia. The midfielder will take a full part in tomorrow's training session, having come through two others unscathed. Ruesha Littlejohn was another who came under fire during that abandoned friendly with Colombia, and she spoke this morning to our own Kathleen McNamee.
Ruesha, Vera said to us on Saturday that you were one of the players who was at the receiving end of a hard tackle. How are you feeling after Friday?
Yeah, fine. It's done now and we're moving forward. It was a bit of a heated game, but that was it. A few bruises along the way, but that was all.
Yeah. And how did you find the weekend, having the time off and probably getting to see a bit of Brisbane? Or I think, were you up in the Gold Coast, did I see?
Amazing. I think it was well and truly needed. Just needed to switch off, get away from camp and sort of just take ourselves away from here. A few girls done different things. A group of us went to Gold Coast. I love the beach, so I had to go there. Love swimming, had to do it. And then I think a few girls went to like the koala sanctuaries and stuff like that. So I think everyone's had a nice day, and now it's kind of back to business.
Yeah, I saw her saying elsewhere, it's a bit like with a family. You just need to get away for a while, go to the beach, cool off, intense. So that's good. And suddenly it's here. We'll be doing our World Cup show from tomorrow.
Yeah.
And obviously the build-up will be very focused on Australia, Ireland. It's nice to be on day one, gotta say, that's straight into it.
No way.
Yeah.
So match day -2 here.
Yeah,
that's the way we need to start talking FIFA language.
Meanwhile, all is not well in the England camp, it seems, Richie.
Not necessarily, no. England squad pausing negotiations in their pay dispute with the English FA until the World Cup is concluded. A statement signed by all the players and posted online by Captain Millie Bright says they're disappointed it's yet to be resolved. The disagreement is over performance-related bonuses, and England start their campaign against Haiti on Saturday.
Okay. Shamrock Rovers will have their regrets from the first leg. They're far from out of it.
No, they're not, but they are without Neil Farrugia and Jack Byrne for tonight's second leg of their Champions League qualifier. Farrugia's failed to recover from a hamstring injury. Byrne picked up a knock in that first leg defeat to Adeleke, a 1-0 first leg deficit. Richie Towell and Graham Burke come in for Dylan Watts and the injured Jack Byrne in the Rovers 11. They have Leon Poles in goal, back three of Sean Hoare, Roberto Lopez and Dan Cleary. Across the middle then from right to left, it's Ronan Finn, Richie Towell, Gary O'Neill, Marcus Palm and Sean Kavanagh. Graham Burke and Rory Gaffney are up front, and kick-off is at 8:15 Irish time. The winners will play Copenhagen in the second qualifying round.
Does Jack Byrne miss a lot of games? Is he a lot of niggly injuries, or else he's like, he's only able for 30 minutes or whatever off the bench? He doesn't seem to be. He never seems to. You wouldn't be guaranteed that Jack Byrne's going to be starting for Shamrock Rovers on any given week, would you?
A run this season has been a little bit better than the previous one, but there are still those knocks that occur from time to time and slight strains. I think this is endemic of his career as a whole so far, to be honest, and probably has been a factor, at least anyway, in why he has come home. But yeah, like this season's kind of started to have that air of been out for a match or two, picking up a niggle here and there, and kind of not being able to contribute as best as he would like to.
Okay. Professional debut for Rashida Adeleke.
And quite a decent one too. She was second behind the reigning world champion on her professional debut this evening. Adeleke finished second behind Shrika Jackson in the 200 metres at the July Istvan Memorial event in Hungary. Adeleke ran a time of 22.36 seconds, just 0.02 of a second off her own national record, which she set in April. Also as well, it's under the Olympic qualifying mark. She'll race in the 400 metres at Friday's Diamond League meeting in Monaco.
Like I said last night, we're going to speak to her on Monday, hopefully in studio as well, so looking forward to that conversation.
Very good this evening, it has to be said.
Okay.
I was watching this evening online on the YouTube feed, and she was better than Jackson over the curve, and it was only the world champion kind of kicked into high gear in the straight. And there are people who know more about these things, but it comes back to that tweet that Michael Johnson put out about her a few weeks ago, which says when she gets her arms under control, she'll be a real threat, because she's a little bit ragged in the final straightaway, particularly this evening. And you look across, she was in lane 7. You look across the rest, and there's a lot of people are more in control. More experienced runners are conserving their being more economical, I guess, with their movement, Jackson in particular. But really it's just a massive start as a pro, and it kind of shows what she's going to be capable of from here on in.
Was that Mick just dismissing the damned United? I loved it, says a texter. I feel it was generally dismissed at the time.
How do I not sound like an you know what here? I love that book. And as so often is the case, it is very hard to replicate a book that somebody knows and loves intimately as a film. So I don't mean to be like, book's always better than the movie, but in this case, that film, it was so... It did not capture the essence, I would say.
It broad stroked the book a little bit, but it also... It took away. I think we might have covered this at the time. I don't know. I did interviews around it, but like they were talking about them wanting to be kinder to Clough as a character in the film than perhaps the book was. So the late night phone calls to Don Revie when Clough was supposedly in the book at least 3 sheets to the wind were taken out, and bits and pieces like that, and even some of the underhanded stuff that John Giles sued for successfully after the book was published were taken out as well. So when you lose decent chunks of the book, the film's never really going to be the same.
Probably an understandable decision, given that it was pure fiction and just made up in the author's head. It followed the career path and the story of Brian Clough, but like it was basically an inner monologue that he would have no way of knowing if Brian Clough did or taught any of these things. So it made it a very entertaining book, but I can see why people like John had serious issues with it,
Yeah. Are there any notable examples of film being better than the book? Arthur says Jaws.
The Godfather?
Arthur
I would
also
say-
nods at The Godfather.
I would say The Godfather's better than the
You
book.
read the book as well?
Yeah.
Or did you read Jaws?
You just heard it wasn't very
You just heard the book wasn't good. So you didn't read Jaws.
Do you know what?
Strange book to read.
I would argue, and people are going. If people are going to hate me for this, right? Because they're such classics. I would argue that Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogies are better than the books. Better than Tolkien's books.
I didn't read the books, but I found the films absolute snooze fest.
Well, there you go. But if you would definitely find the book snooze fest then. Like, I mean, they're overly detailed and I would say quite hard to read.
Okay. Just like the movies.
But yeah, well, I like the movies. I once watched the 3 extended versions in one day, Joe, instead of going to college.
That is your problem. Marcus Rashford, 5-year deal.
Yeah, he signed a new 5-year contract with Manchester United today. His previous deal was due to expire next summer, but he'll now remain at Old Trafford until at least 2028, and naturally it's believed Rashford's new deal will see him double his salary. Meanwhile, slightly more surprising news from Old Trafford. Johnny Evans has rejoined Manchester United on a short-term deal. The 35-year-old is a free agent following his release by Leicester and is effectively going to pad out the United squad for their pre-season games over the next few weeks. Meanwhile, United are close to completing the signing of Inter goalkeeper Andre Onana. He has reportedly travelled to England with a €55 million package agreed between the clubs, and United fullback Alex Telles, who spent last season on loan at Sevilla, is close to joining Saudi club Al Nassr and his former teammate Cristiano Ronaldo.
It's like Football Manager with Al Nassr and all these teams now, isn't it? Like, you don't know who's going to be popping up.
Who was it?
Would you say there's any locals that are going out here? I'm not going to get a game here. It's like Homer and the
Isotopes.
The plant team, yeah.
God, where was I? Did we have this discussion on air or not?
Don't know what the discussion is yet, Joe.
God, I need to think now because I don't want to betray someone. Well, anyway, I don't think it is a major issue. But anyway, I was talking to someone whose
Can't say why.
whose son came home in an Al Nassr tracksuit. Like,
Oh, right, okay.
got a jersey and an Al Nassr top, so they're taking over.
Oh, yeah, this is ringing a bell, but I can't remember where I heard it either.
Yeah. Were you there for that?
I genuinely don't remember.
Anyway, this isn't very good.
But anyway, that
imagine-
if that keeps happening,
Al Nassr becoming
they win.
a thing. So the tea times are out for Thursday at Hoylake.
Yep, Rory McIlroy is going to play alongside Masters champion John Ram and Justin Rose for the first 2 rounds of this week's Open Championship. They'll tee off just before 3 p.m. on Thursday at Royal Liverpool. Seamus Power and Padraig Harrington are grouped together along with Taylor Gooch for a 9:14 tee time on Thursday morning. Shane Lowry goes out just over an hour later. He's alongside Ricky Fowler and Robert McIntyre, while Meads' Alex Maguire is the first Irishman out on Thursday morning just after 7 a.m.
We'll talk to Lawrence Donegan this hour. It promises to be an amazing major for all sorts of reasons. I saw, by the way, John Ram in his press conference. He is a very impressive person, Ram. Speaks amazingly well for someone who learned English like 7-8 years ago, and just substance to the end. So they asked Ram the question that they've been asking a lot of the big players in recent weeks, which is, should the PGA Tour now make things right with you financially, given that you stayed and the Live Boys made money and now there's an alliance? And everybody has said, bloody right, yeah. So Ram's asked this and he says, I wasn't forced into anything. Do I think they should compensate me? No. I stayed because it was the best choice for me and for the golf I wanted to play. We all had the choice to go to Live and take the money. We chose to stay on the PGA Tour for whatever reason. I'm already making an amazing living doing what I do. I'm extremely thankful for that, and all that happened because of the platform the PGA Tour gave me. As far as I'm concerned, they've done enough for me. Their focus should be on improving the PGA Tour and the game of golf for future generations. To which the room said, "Oh, don't really have a follow-up there." So that's kind of interesting. I see he is, as Richie says, playing with Rory McIlroy, who was very much of the opinion, damn right, they should make things right.
I did see Rory defending the PGA Tour maybe the day before the Scottish Open, whatever the last press conference I would have seen him in, and he's definitely in the far. It was the same press conference where he said he'd rather retire than play live golf.
Oh yeah.
But I think when they brought the PGA Tour into it, he was definitely in more conciliatory form.
Right.
Did you see the out of bounds where the out of bounds line is on the 18th hole in Hoylake? So basically, they've apparently it's an out of bounds anyway because it goes into a driving range. But they brought it in. It's basically about 2 yards off the fairway on the right hand side. There's just an out of bounds line.
Yeah, I did see that.
So that could be apparently on the third, possibly as well. It's all the way down the hole.
They have
so it could be interesting.
Internal OBs are controversial. Players obviously don't like them. Amateurs hate them.
Yeah.
One at Royal St George's, which cost Dustin Johnson, and Port Rush had one on the first, as Rory McIlroy knows.
Oh yeah,
You know?
of course. Yeah.
The Shining, better film than books, is Connor on YouTube. Good man, Connor. I'll take your word for it. I haven't read the book. Have you read David Peace's other football book, Red or Dead, about Bill Shankly? Even better still, says Dennis.
It's like 900 pages, and it is even more drivelly. Like it's hard to.
Do you know what?
It's not even written in full sentences. Like it's tough work. Like
somebody, it's a long time ago now, so I can't remember. So that book was hated by lots of people as being like overly repetitive. Like it's 900 pages of went to work, had coffee, open, the same routine over and over and over again. And some reviewer made a brilliant point that on the face of it, that's so awfully dull. But the cumulative effect, if you read the book, was like an experience almost of it kind of let you experience just how many days and how many games Bill Shankly had managed for, and like it almost got into your bones.
Yeah.
That by the end of it you kind of almost had a quasi experience, and that was the genius of it. And I thought that's a bloody interesting point. Maybe that's one of those books you have to sit through and almost do the work, and at the end of it you'll have some kind of appreciation of Shankly.
Yeah, get through that pain and get the reward at the end of it. Sorry I gave up after 450 pages.
This is very similar to the last chapter. We got to go. Richie, thank you very much.
Nice and gents.
Michael, thank you.
Cheers.